from now. Yeah, we're recording. Sorted. Right. So start with 2 minutes silence, then over to you for the intros. Cool. Sometimes, instead of noticing what's passing and making space, I catch myself power thinking. Processing.
Yeah, it's easy to do, isn't it?
Oh, God.
It's easy to get caught up in something.
Exactly. Relentless. Right. I'm going to hand right over to you because it's your show. And then let's see where let's get your show on the road. And I'll be your guest.
I would say it's both of our shows.
Is it the first time you've done it?
What's that?
A kind of podcast interview thing, or do you do that kind of thing?
No, the last one I did was it was a week ago, last Monday evening. So that was an interview and with a website in America. So that was very interesting. You know, the guy was very switched on because, you know, they say the answers we get are defined by the questions we ask ourselves, right? And with this guy, because he was asking me good questions, it then allowed me to come up with interesting things and to really dig deep, because this was someone who was actually into it. You know, it's not just speaking to someone who's just curious or whatever. This is someone who's, you know, writes about psychology and everything else. So everything was just coming out and it was brilliant.
Brilliant. And how long did it go on for?
It went on for about 55 minutes in the end. Excellent. In the beginning, he said, you know, maybe half an hour, see how we go. And it just flowed.
And was he interviewing you for his podcast or you interviewing him for your podcast?
This was for a website in America. They have articles on relationships and everything else. So this was just like a live video. It wasn't live, but it was, you know, going to be shared this week. And, oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Exciting.
Brilliant. It's really interesting that you bring up the relationship thing because I mean, not only am I happily married and therefore, and there's so much changing in my relationship at the moment, I would say, because my wife left her full-time job, I think it was in April. And since then, she's had a lot to catch up with herself, her family. We've been away, and now she's helping me out. Plus, she started part-time study in personal development. What do you call it? It's at Revision, the psychotherapist people, but it's some sort of a therapy. So she's got big changes working with me, which apparently is a shock. not having to do rush hour, and new dynamics and new dimensions of our relationship, as well as her own delving deep into her own life, into the whole therapeutic world, the personal development world, and that's great. But on the other side, what's really weird is this weekend I've got the Gentleman's Grooming Show, and the Gentleman's Grooming Show is all about how to, you know, get your beard right, or get your dapper suit right, or get your hair right, or, you know, all of this external stuff for a certain dapper type style of man. Meanwhile, they've asked me to do mini workshops on both days on men flirt. And men flirt is not about flirting and handing power to other people, but it's about being your most irresistible, authentic you. So this is very much the best. Yeah, and that's the best me on the inside coming out. So, you know, you can dress up the body, but what shines through the eyes, that can only happen on the inside. So, and the Men Flirt workshops have been going really well. They're going a little bit too well, because I wanted the men's groups to be faster transformationals than Men Flirt. But it's the bit where men are videoed while they are in conversation about relationships or whatever. And then there's feedback about how they come across, which could be posture, tone, voice, tilt of head, which part of the face the mouth speaks from, listening with the frown or with an eyebrow, and, you know, all of these tiny little things. And it's not so much be a better act, but it's more come from a more authentic place and be aware of what's being put out, and what you're demanding either does or doesn't come to you. And it's changed people so quickly, or it's changed the way they present themselves or reveal themselves, and the way that the world responds to them. So Men Flirt is going great, great, great guns.
And whereabouts? I was just thinking, I suppose when you do the men's groups, it's a bit more general, isn't it? There's perhaps not clear intention, but with this, it's like, this is the why you're here, clear intention, perhaps, and so
well, the men's group,
you see the results.
Exactly. And the men's groups are about who are you now, who do you no longer need to be, and it's kind of maybe where did this come from, and the bigger picture, and more self-aware in that way. Where Men Flirt is purely presentation. It's not getting into the whys and the wheres and the hows. That's personal development stuff. That's self-awareness stuff. This is more about a shift of alignment to come from where you're coming from now, irrespective of where it is or why it is.
Yeah, it's a bit like, you know, how to cook a 3-course meal versus how just to prepare yourself a bit of bread, isn't it? You know, you're not doing all this stuff, you're just going straight in, wash, isn't it? You're not learning about how things are made, it's just put that on there, put it in the oven.
Yeah, yeah. And very often what I've been saying, especially to men, because I feel a lot of men will not move on in their lives until they know everything. Not only for safety's sake, but also so they don't miss out on something. And I'm basically, when it's right, saying to people, right, time to move on. Anything you need to know, you can look over your shoulder and get it in hindsight, but time to move on. Same with private clients. I'll see my private clients, but when it's time to shift, it's like, right, we need to cut down or cut out on the private sessions. Time to go into a men's group and use it as a stepping stone. Time to engage in the world, because it's not about feeling good when you're with me in a room. It's about a life that works. What would you say, how would you say that works with your work? Because you know where people are kind of a bit jumbled up and fuzzy, and then you write a book about it, and then they come to you to get more personal and talk it through. Fair to say? I make it sound simplistic. I don't mean to.
No, it's good. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. I would say it depends. I mean, sometimes someone can read a book and then they can think, right, I want something a bit more hands-on. So they don't just want to read stuff in a book or just go over an ebook. They come up something more one-to-one, or instead of going over the same topic, perhaps they can want to look at something else. That can be another area, still within the self-development, of course, but it can be a slightly different area that they want to move into. So they've read this, that's good, okay, I've got my hand on that, but now I've got this, perhaps you can, show me that as well. So it depends. I mean, sometimes people can just say, right, can you give me your thoughts on something? And I'm not someone that tells people what to do. You better do that because I say so. It's just, well, have you thought about this? Perhaps you could do that. What do you think? And then that could be it. They might not want anything else. They just want, what do you think? And I suppose it's just like speaking to a friend, looking for their point of view. And perhaps if someone hasn't got that, then okay, I trust you or your judgment. So perhaps you can provide that to me.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're saying more practical because they're working with you rather than from a book. More personal because not only are they taking their own story, they're going off here and they're going off there to say, what do you think to this? And it almost feels like more parental because you're holding the space that makes it safe for them to ask questions and explore and take their first steps and get feedback. And that sounds damn good, actually. And so they're Googling whatever it is up for them. They find your book, they read the book, and they think, this guy gets me.
Yeah, probably sometimes. But what I often get is people say it's as if you were writing about me. So it's kind of, they read the article, wow, this really connects to me. And I think a lot of it comes down to, we might look different, we might be a different gender, whatever it is, the kind of the external part of us. But deep down, there's all these experiences that we all have. Yeah. Sometimes we can try to deny that, but these things that, although there's so much that appears to disconnect us, there's so many things that bring us together. And I just think that a lot of it is just reading about these things that people just say, okay, that really connects the dots for me. And they say, okay, so it's come from you, so therefore perhaps you've got something else that can assist me as well.
Yeah, that's a really strange one. I remember I gave a talk at Alternatives, St. James Church, Piccadilly, which was like an honour. It's like the stage I wanted to be on because all the people that I respect, from Marianne Williamson and Byron Katie to Deepak Chopra, and I was with, what's his name, who did The Way of the Superior Man, Dan Millman. I met him there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good
all
film.
My favourites go on St. James Church, Piccadilly. And when I went on, what I was surprised to find out is that I had a reasonable, say, 10% of the audience, which is quite a lot, went to see someone speaking and not twitching. And these people, because as a child, I had post-traumatic stress disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder, body dysmorphia, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and Tourette's, and twitching and grunting and picking at myself and various other things, eating disorders and whatever. And I had no idea, and I'm very open about this in blogs and articles and social media, and I think similar to you, people think, wait a minute, he's been through what I'm going through, or he's speaking my language, or if he gets it like this and he's been through it, then who better than someone that has actually walked that journey and come out the other end? And it's when there were people in the audience who basically said, that's amazing. And I've got so many friends who would have wanted to come, but I had no idea that these days tics are so common that so many people just don't leave the house or they hide themselves. I had a client from Canada last night, 10:30 p.m. because it was just right and we could get the time, who was on the edge with his tics and with his self-calming and learning how to get over it, learning how to take care, learning how to allow a different part of him to show up to the world rather than sending a nervous boy to do a man's job. But it was this like, you've been through it, I'm going through it, so help me out. Fair to say, same for you?
Perfect, I'd say so. I mean, if you want to have your car fixed, you don't take it to a hairdresser. you take it to the mechanic. And I think it's just like that, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, even better, like with yourself, I mean, there's some people, okay, they move beyond something, but they might not write about it, they might not have a presence like you've got online. So
Right.
that's it. But if you have written about it, you've got a presence online, and it's there, where else are you going to go?
Exactly.
It's a no-brainer.
Would you say there are common themes that you generally deal with your work? The people, not just the people who you attract, but the things that are up, or does it come in batches and phases?
I would say because I've written about so many different areas now, it's not like getting the same stuff, but it can all come back to things like rejection or abandonment or feeling worthless, those kinds of themes. You know, the big ones, the main ones, the kind of the roots of a lot of problems, trauma, you know, you mentioned about PTSD, things like that.
Yeah.
Abuse, like those are the things, because that's most of my work comes back to that anyway, kind of looking at the childhood experiences and how something could be something big, could be lots of little things that have just had such an effect. These people can't just carry on as normal. I just get it together, pretend that everything's okay. They can't do that. Some people can just kind of manage with that, but when it's so strong, or it gets to that point, then it's like, I've got to do something now.
Yeah. And the other ones I find are when life is quite settled, maybe 30s, 40s, 50s, when there's no rushing around, building a career, building a relationship, doing stuff. When things are safe and things are calm, then there's space for stuff to come up, basically. It could be sometimes when people are aware that they're not moving past the same old story with the same old kind of characters, with the same old play, and they think there's something going on that I need to let go of. Because I used to do that, same old story. And one of my cycles was I would do very well with whatever job. Well, it was mainly my own business rather than a job. And I'd do so well. And then I'd get spooked. And then I'd need to either move house or change career or somehow run. I'd keep running. I would also have women who love me, who I attract. But quite often I might be unaware or not very good with boundaries. So there would be some being chased, being loved and in a relationship, and then maybe feeling smothered. And then the third one would be having a best friend, getting very, very, very close, and then realizing that there's like a big brother, small brother, or father, son, or something, you know, that kind of a dynamic going on.
Yeah, I can relate to that myself.
When I realized those three, I thought, well, yeah, totally makes sense. Because as the Secret Service were after my family in Uganda, we went into hiding, we were followed, the phones were tapped, life was good, and then suddenly it was taken away. So as soon as life got good, I would run before my life was taken away, for fear that if it is taken away, I wouldn't have it in me to do it again.
Yeah.
And then with the women, well, I was enmeshed by my mother, my godmother, adored by my grandmother. So all the women loved me. I was the first son, etc., etc. So because of that, I would be, you know, a mummy's boy, responsible for everyone's emotions, fixing and not being like the men because there's something wrong with them, and not being acceptable by the other kids because I'm kind of one of the grown-ups. Like I'm like a double agent, like John Boy Walton. So that set up that dynamic. And then, so there was the running, there was the women, and then with the men, I guess it was either very close best friend relationships. I mean, basic popularity, but generally very close best friend relationship that would then turn into some sort of a dynamic where I'm the caretaker, which is pretty much what I did when I was a child. That was the role I played. So I continued playing the role. So I needed to know and name what was going on and what I knew to do, how I knew to live life. And from the outside, everyone else saw that it works peachy. It was kind of what they wanted and what you're supposed to want.
Yeah.
But for me, if there's no space for me, or if I don't exist on the inside, or if I don't respect myself, or something doesn't feel right, even if it's a minor anxiety or paranoia in the background, it's not right. So I had a lot to unlearn, but I needed to know my story and know the repeating patterns, the repeating characters, the repeating script, so I could get it, unlearn it, and then live beyond it. But I found that as I unlearned it, once I knew it, it was kind of disempowered in a way in which I could see what was playing out. That doesn't mean that I could live differently, but I could see what was playing out. But once I got it, and once I began to unlearn it, then I picked up tools to walk my path, to use to move forward. I guess maybe hence the men's groups, because it's changed so many men's lives. It's got so many men on the same side. It's saved lives, and it's a place where you can just hang out and tell the truth, which I didn't have from the older men, and I didn't have from the boys, but it's kind of what was missing, a place to just, you know, get real.
Yeah, be authentic.
It's almost like the wound unlearned provides, which was in the shadow, learned provides the gold to move on. So would you say it's been similar to you with your...
Yeah. I mean, what you said there is kind of, was it uncanny or whatever the word is? I mean, it's just like that. I mean, a lot of the stuff you said, I can relate to that. All that stuff I've worked through myself, and I could definitely see, you said about having a very, not just a friend that you might, you know, spend time with and do things, but very close, kind of very close to that. They're not very close in terms of a woman. It's more kind of like, that is where the connection is. And it reminds me of what I was reading the other day, and what it said in this book was that in order for someone to have that desire to be emotionally attracted to a woman, they've got to first feel like a man. And if they were unable to identify with a male figure when they're younger, have the male friends when they're younger to build up who they are. Yeah. So while they're in that state, they might then have the desire to connect with a woman sexually or intellectually, but there's no heart involved because they're still building that up. So I could definitely relate to that, and I just think it makes a lot of sense, because I mean, if we're not, as you're saying, if we're not in tune with ourselves and comfortable with who we are, how can we really connect to other people in that way, whether it's just in terms of a normal relationship or something a bit more? So
an authentic one at depth, where we're meeting somewhere real, rather than second guessing and pretending and playing silly games that mean nothing. That, to me, leave me out in the cold. Why would I want to have relationships, even with myself, that doesn't include me? It doesn't make sense.
Big time. It's integration, isn't it? Not just living up here and, you know, who shall I be? Who does this person want me to be? It's connecting deeper down. To ourselves. If we're just up here kind of hyper vigilant, you know, who should I be? Just molding ourselves to our environment. Instead of connecting and expressing who we are.
I wrote a blog called From Am I to I Am. And it's basically, am I is the way that I was brought up, and the way that so-called nice people are, which is handing power over to other people, for other people to judge, guessing what they want, being what they want, and not existing. Am I safe? Am I popular? Am I going to be humiliated or abandoned? Am I your favorite? Am I in with a chance? Am I whatever it is? Am I going to have a promotion? Am I, you know, but it's all am I, where I am is quite the opposite. And it's not I am over you, it's more I am in alignment with me. I exist, and I'm coming from me and extending to you. Where before it was more I don't exist and I will be whatever it is I second guess you want me to be. With that, not only do I not exist, but there are no boundaries and there's nowhere to meet. We're coming from I am and extending to someone. We meet at these intimate boundaries. And when we meet, then it can go wherever it wants to go, consciously, openly, without the second guessing and the paranoia and the pain and the repeating the same unconscious bloody scripts and everything. But I find that when it's am I, there's a space and there is no meeting. And in that space is automatic pilot drama. Same old. It's a very subtle but life-changing shift. And I find like my secret, so the men's group's strapline is man up and talk about it. And for me, that's the truth of manning up, is just tell the truth, show up what's going on. My secret strapline is I am one and I am one of. So I can't be one of the men until I've accepted myself. And the other men can't really accept me until I've accepted myself. If they accept me and then I accept myself, then that's a bit of a blag. That's, if I'm good enough for you, then I'm good enough for me. So it's I am one and I am one of. And I feel exactly what you said, that once I am one and once I am one of, then I can extend myself beyond the men to the women, or to relationships, or to greater community, maybe to purpose, maybe to, you know, incredible adventures. But
yeah,
there needs to be that basic sense of self and acceptance and safety and alignment. But it's incredible, I find, how important it is for a man to be accepted by the tribe, to be one of.
Yeah, well, that of course is where it begins, isn't it? We start off, you know, ideally with acceptance, and that becomes internalized, and then we can accept ourselves. But it's usually when that is not in place, then it leads to all these other symptoms and problems. So I definitely agree with what you said. There has to be a strong sense of me, who I am. Once I'm clear about myself,
yeah,
then I can relate to another person. But if there's no me, how can I relate to anyone?
And how did you switch that over? And when did you switch that over?
Well, it'd be wonderful if I could say I did it in one evening. I think I could make a lot of money selling that approach. But it's taken many years of study and grief work and different healing techniques and everything that I've used to do that. And the writing as well with the journal. I find it's very useful, because if we're so used to looking to others for feedback, and we were brought up with that enmeshment, as you've said, and we're disconnected from our body, then how the hell are we going to know what our needs and feelings are? We're not. And we can think, well, this is what I need, but it's not. It's actually what they want me to do. So through writing in a journal and getting things down on paper, then we can start to say, okay, you know, this is what's going on. And then that then creates more clarity. And once it's down on paper, then we can come up with new insights and everything else. But it's been a process of many years of constant and being persistent in my own journey. So it's not something that's just happened through doing a one weekend course or a week away somewhere. So it's been a long process. But as you said in the beginning, it's through doing this, then we find the gold, then we find the gems.
Yeah.
We find the gifts through going through it. So it's not just all the pain and then that's it. We go through the pain and then we find parts of ourselves that, wow, look, I can do this, I can do that. And if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be able to do this. So we become far more depth.
And surely it's all in this moment, rather than I did that course and therefore forever I'm fine. It's right here and right now. Am I in alignment, or do I need to adjust something? Would you say...
What I would say is that, I mean, even the constant striving and I need this, I need that, that often comes down to some kind of belief or trauma anyway. So once that is resolved, then someone can then say, right, there's so much more I want to learn, and that's great, but I'm just here now, and I'm going through each step instead of all this striving, because all it comes down to not feeling good enough and not being enough, or there could be some kind of trauma there, or fear and anxiety. You know, when's the other shoe going to drop?
Yeah.
So it's through becoming more at peace and integrated within ourselves.
Yeah.
I would say then, yes, there's so much more to learn, but I don't need to learn that in order to feel good about myself.
And also I'd say there's the whole kind of, the more I want out of life, the pendulum needs to swing and the equal and opposite, maybe a little bit more into the shadow, so I can release something or accept something. And then I have more or am more in life. And then if I want to play small and have a bit of a break, then yeah, tootle along. But when it's time for more, and generally I'm quite greedy, I want more. I want to be and do, and you know. So hungry for life means stuff's going to come up saying, know me, release me. And as I do, then I've got more space to swing in the opposite way, as it were, saying, yay, live me.
Yeah, big time. Well, it's a bit like having a room full of stuff that you don't want or need. There's no more space. I remember watching this program where people hoarding, they can get out of their house.
Yeah.
So once you start getting rid of stuff, okay, now there's more space for stuff that I need.
Yeah. The bell that I used in the beginning, I used to be a feng shui consultant. I used to hide behind feng shui. I used to hide behind so many things.
It's a very valuable tool, isn't it?
Oh, it so is. And it's about clearing space.
Yeah.
It's about, you know, ringing a bell before a meeting, before a men's group, before anything, is almost like, this is the space I'm entering now.
Drawing
and
the
I'm
line,
going to clear it now. And even in a physical space, I so agree with you. I remember when I was studying the whole feng shui thing, asking, so what does it mean if there's a lot stored in your family home? Well, obviously it means you haven't left home. But it's always been interesting where people store what and why, and to read it back and reflect it to see where they're stuck, maybe in their physical health or their emotional health or their story or whatever it is, and then gently letting it go to make that space for something to happen. And for me, it's important that it's gentle and sustainable rather than a big shock and a wrench. And then it's like, oh my God, that's too vulnerable. And then it's put back in safety and it's the same old story. Give me 1 sec because my best friend's just landed from the States. Hey. Hello? Hey, you landed. Cool. Listen, I'm on a call. Can I call you back in like, yeah. I'm home. So if you want to come straight here, fine. If you want to go out, fine. And then I've got to... Cool. Okay. Lovely. Okay. Catch you soon. Bye. I was going to bring this up today, actually, that there are 2 main things going on for me. One is the absolute joy and excitement that my best friend's coming over. And it's like, are we as men allowed to have friends, leave alone best friends? Because isn't best friends a childish thing for school kids? Meanwhile, I would say for a lot of blokes, it's the first big heartbreak. It's like, oh my God, my best friend's got a new best friend. And that hurts. And as adults, I wonder if we disconnect from other men, thinking you can't hurt me. You're not going to think that something's wrong with me, or I want to, I don't know, have sex with you, or get off with your wife, or take your money, or socially climb, or, you know, the way that men separate. And I would say the 2 big tragedies working with men is how few men actually have one real friend that they can tell the truth with, or hang out with, or even be silent with. And it's so few, including the most popular people may not have one friend. A lot of noise, a lot of fillers, a lot of razzmatazz. And the second thing is how many men show up thinking in some shape or form, what's wrong with me? How do I fix me so then I can take part in the world? How do I do me better? And they are both tragic and the most common things that I come across. What I love with the men's groups is whether people have friends or not, they get met with who they really are without any conditions of who they should be or betrayal of the tribe or, you know, it's, you can be who you, not only can you be who you are, but you can experiment with who you really are and let go of who you no longer need to be. And there are so many people that, you know, they meet in the groups, out of the groups, the events I put on, or they become best friends, they travel, whatever. It's wonderful. It's honest, clear, conscious relationships. And the ones that come in with what's wrong with me, generally I find that the answer to what's wrong with them is they're trying to be or do someone else. They don't even exist in their lives. So the first question surely is, who am I? Why am I like this? Why am I here? Why am I thinking this? Why am I feeling this? And how do I change perspective so I'm coming from me and a real life can take place? What do you think to the whole friendship thing and the male curse or curses, if you've come across patterns like that?
Well, I think it's vital, isn't it? Because when there's not that support system with men with other male friends, then once they get into, just for example, once they get into a relationship, then let's say that relationship comes to an end, then it's like rock bottom because they've got no one there. Or if they have got people in their life, as you're saying, just like someone who's got thousands of friends on Facebook, but no one will lend them a fiver. So they've got all these kind of so-called friends, and then they break up. They're in a bad way, and perhaps they haven't got the emotional understanding already, so they don't really have that emotional literacy, let's say. They don't understand their own emotions. Now they feel a bit down, and let's say that turns to anger or rage because they don't want to feel too vulnerable.
Yeah. And
then they go, oh, I'm going to go down the pub, or maybe let's just find someone else. This whole thing of, you know, the best way to move on is to, you know, just find someone else.
Yeah, and probably another replacement for the last one.
So
I run the same script, story.
Yeah, so I just kind of use this person. Hopefully that makes me feel a bit better. Perhaps I can get back to that person by going, you know, depends on what the connection is there. And as you say, I think it's important to have that. It's like, as I say, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So if you have lots of different interests and support systems in your life, then one thing goes. It's like a pillar of a house. Okay, that's gone, but we've got all the other pillars there. We're not going to end up in the mud. And so you have all these other points in your life.
Yeah.
And I think another thing as well is with men, it's often, okay, so are you really close to that male friend? What's going on there? As if there's something a bit shameful about it. Instead of, well, that's normal, you know, to have close friends and to share, to open up. Not just about, wow, I've achieved this, or look at my physique, I've been working out at the gym today. This is what's going on. I've been feeling this and whatever.
To me, that's very much the difference between a boy and a man. And I would say a boy needs to, in my day, not be called gay, be picked for football, be one of the lads, not be excluded or humiliated for anything, be competitive, have nerves of steel and a stiff upper lip, no vulnerability, nothing like that, and prove that he likes and is not a girl. And that's very survival. It's very toxic, it's very fearful, and it leaves very little space for relationships. Lots of space maybe for sports and drink and drugs and pointless sex and other things to fill the hole. But I wouldn't say that's the way to fill the hole, or maybe it's just the wrong hole. Where for me, I would say a man is more coming from collaboration rather than competition, which is a female trait. It's not, I need to be better than you. It's more, I'm fine and you're fine and we can do stuff together. and maturely find boundaries and work and create something great. And
yeah, just
to include. Sorry?
No, just when I interrupted you there, I said carry on. And I think it comes back to this merging the masculine with the feminine. I mean, to me,
totally.
We someone might have a masculine appearance or someone might have a feminine appearance, but within, we've both got the energies within us. Some people can have more, and it doesn't matter if someone's a man or a woman. We've both got both of these energies within us. Yeah. And as you said in the beginning, once we know who we are, we're comfortable with ourselves, then everyone else is not a threat or competition. It's as you're saying, collaboration. Oh, how can we work together? How can I assist them? It's completely different attitude. It's more of the body instead of being in the mind, the duality, more of the oneness.
Yeah, exactly. So what's interesting with this guy is, much as we are very adult together, we're both men. I'm now 54. He's probably 42 or 43. But where we meet has got nothing to do with age. It's just coming from a place of love, sharing, acceptance, nothing to think about, and also a bit of crap. If I've got crap up, then he knows. If he's got crap up, then I know. If we've got crap with each other, then thank God we go there, because we matter enough to allow pain and to know that no one's going to run away because there's pain. There's stuff to learn from here. And that is so worthwhile. But another thing that's really interesting about this relationship, and we've probably, I'm not very good with numbers, we've probably known each other 7 years max, maybe 6, you know, something like that, is we both had major trauma at the same age of life. And vaguely it was similar. I had to, at the age of 7, leave Uganda and come to the UK and start life again. And it's like an alien landing on another planet, totally vulnerable. So forget about the normal childhood traumas of best friends and everything safe and all of that. Then there's major life-threatening traumas. And same with him. He left America to come to the UK at the same age, with the same insecurities, in a new school, and a very similar trauma. And I feel so lucky that we can meet as men, and we can also hang out like boys, like Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. And most of the time that we spend together is like in nature, or maybe architecture in London. But it's not, oh, what a lovely building. Wow. And I love that we can meet in that magical place that generally is bricked over by men because it's childish, but it's a place of wonder, a place of beauty, a place of exploration, a place of acceptance, and a place of, it's not all woo-woo lovely. If there's crap, then we're going to grow through this crap. We're going to go through it together, and we're going to grow through it. And that is worth its weight in gold. It is just so valuable. Where I find, again, the boys pretend to be mature, but not too mature, immature, but not childish. So you have to be like this, and this is cool, and this is hard, and this is, there's no space to exist again. There's no space to exist. And again, with the men's groups, I love that we have every age, every stage, not such a huge cross-section with race. It is mainly white and Asian, but not Oriental and not Black very often. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's because they have their own communities and they don't need to come to men's groups. I don't know. But everything else, we've got a huge cross-section with sexualities. And you were talking about looking androgynous. I was with a client who's going to start with hormone therapy soon, going from he to she. And I remembered, because I've not always looked like this, I used to look young, and I had like long curly hair that went down to my bum. And I generally wear short trousers, and I was quite kind of like meaty, and I had this like, you know, ringlets. And I remember I was with my cousin at his rugby club, just ordering some drinks. And some bloke stood next to me, put his arm around me and said, blah, 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 babe, thinking I'm a woman. And it's like, that so did my head in on so many different levels. So many levels. It's like suddenly, for one incident, I got a taste of what it was like to be vulnerable public property for being female. Boundaries. I got a taste of, you know, being mauled. I got a taste of not being, I don't know, the whole imbalance, it was infuriating and quite scary and almost quirky initially because it was a shock. It's like, what's this? He's going to get a shock when he sees how hairy my legs are. But yeah, it's very, very fluid these days. And I would say it's not about being male or female. It's not even about being masculine or feminine. I'd say it's more about being true, being authentic, and allowing that to shine through, because then life, in whatever shape or form, will be attracted by that true frequency and get into true relationship, rather than my fraud has just flirted with your fraud, and let's hope we don't look down at the mess we've created, 3 kids and a mortgage later, because then we're going to have to somehow deal with this fraud. Or do you not? Is it only me that gets those clients?
No, I mean, I can relate to what you're saying. It's a big topic, isn't it? There's so many different things to consider. But with our side, it's, as you said, it's about simply showing up as a whole person. It's that self-honesty and not getting caught up in needing to be anyone, needing to behave in a certain manner. And then when we can get to that point, then we can fully show up instead of, as you're saying, wearing all these masks all the time and trying to connect to another, like two false selves, trying to connect.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
I came up with a cheap term the other night when I was rewriting the Men Flirt leaflet, and it was from masculine to masculine.
I think interesting. Oh, yeah, good.
But
got it.
I would say that when I was wearing the masks and when I was unconscious and when I was surviving and when I was coming from MI, I didn't know. I was in trauma, I was in panic, I was surviving, I had no choice. So I don't wish to disrespect people who are there, because maybe they don't know they're there, maybe they don't know their choice, or maybe their choice for the time being has been control and safety rather than out of control, and maybe no more connection, more vulnerability, the promise of more life, but it's not guaranteed. And I always say to people that when you start working with me, whether it's men's groups or whatever it is, you can't unlearn things. Once you know, you know. Mm. And then everything you do is conscious and through choice. So it's fine to kind of like dip a toe in and check it out and then step back. But if you kind of like push yourself too fast, that could be too rough on the system. If you know and choose not to take part, then that's again something to observe rather than being right or wrong. But I generally find that when people know they have to take part, they need to take part, it almost relieves the isolation or relieves the pain or relieves the stuff that's been going on in their head. And yeah, it is vulnerable to live a bigger, better life. And it is safer to have Groundhog Day, same old problems, know how to solve the problems, blah, 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 pretending to be in control. But I guess it's pretty much red pill or blue pill. I don't remember which is which. But it's also surely at your pace, because otherwise it might not be sustainable, in your own way, rather than now, you know, you have to go. You have, you know, I'll be your coach and I'm going to push you out there and you're accountable. That's just another kind of bully system sometimes.
Big time. It's like going to the gym, isn't it? You kind of just go in there and start bench pressing all kinds of ways. You got to build it up.
Yeah.
You can't just go and run 20 miles. You got to build it up. And if it's in too much too soon, then it's overwhelming. And as you say, I mean, with the mind is going to keep things in until we feel safe enough to open up. And this can't be forced. Has to go at our own pace, not when someone else says, you better be doing this, you better be doing that. It has to go at our own rate.
Yeah. I remember the first time we met, was it this summer or last summer?
It was last December, wasn't it?
Wow, so it's almost a year ago. Wow. And yeah, it was...
Time flies, isn't it?
It was interesting, it was exciting, who is this guy? And
yeah.
You know, it was great. And then you came to a group and we hung out and it was great. And then I remember the second time we met, and it must have been online, I don't remember. And it's like...
months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. What's happened to him? He's shifted so much. There's so much more to him. He's so much more clear, calm, available, dynamic. So what's his secret? What happened?
Well, follow this 10-step plan for £10,000 and you'll be there.
Is that what you did?
I'm kidding. No, it's, as I said earlier on, it's the simply working through the layers of the baggage. Constant thing is for me, it's a constant process. Like I'm writing every day. I'm writing in my journal all the time. As I said, there's the grief work that I've been doing as well. So there's so many things that make it up. I did Qigong as well. Tried that and I found that great for really connecting to myself and feeling more grounded.
Wonderful.
There's so many things. I don't like to say, right, to anyone, you know, follow this, because there's no, as you know, there's no one path or whatever, but it's just being consistent.
Yeah.
Constantly learning and applying things, and it's as simple as that.
It sounds like what's worked for you is quite simply walking a conscious path. It's a way of life. Well, who better, considering how you've shifted in the short time I've known you? And you were a fine man then. So it's not like there was a broken particle that needed fixing and then presenting. But there's just so much more. And it's so much more dynamic, more powerful, more authentic, more present. And if this is the way you lead your life, then I'm guessing that you're probably in the right line of work, aren't you?
Yeah, well said. Thanks for the acknowledgement there. I suppose it takes someone who is also aware and tuned in and observant to notice these shifts. Because they have their own shifts, they can notice it in others too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But big time. I mean, as someone that's constantly growing, as someone who's constantly learning a martial art, that person is going to be the best person then to pass it on to someone else. Not, well, I'll do it once a month.
Yeah.
I can teach you.
So where would you say things are going for you if you know?
I think that things are just, I think I remember when we spoke on the phone, I said, I think it's going more kind of videos like this, maybe speaking events, and time goes by, maybe some kind of, you know, it's easy to say because I do this, therefore I'm going to be doing all these other retreats and things like that. I mean, I'd be open to doing that. But at the moment, it's more just presenting things in a different way. Like before I did an audiobook, which was the first one. It was very enjoyable to do, but
yeah,
God, you know, editing it and going over it and over it after I thought, right, I'm not going to be doing any more of these for a little while. So I just think more speaking, and as I said, over video, and maybe to an audience. I think it's going more in that direction because I've just started doing how-to guides as well. which is slightly different to the books I've been doing.
Do you have one specific particular story that's related, which is your core story or something, and one how-to book where it's like, this is the foundation of who I am, what I do, and why I do it?
I've got two of those. One I think is about 14,000 words, and I've got another which is just some segments of my life that's just put into a book. And I thought, well, the good thing about that is because I not only talk about where I've come from, what I've experienced, but also how I resolved it. So it's kind of like the two parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's sometimes more relatable than just a normal book of information.
Yeah, totally. Stories. I mean, for example, when I tell my story about running for my life and changing my home and my career, and then relationship to women, relationship to men, and where that comes from, would you say you've got a core story that you could sum up in a nutshell of what got you on the path in order to heal this thing or live beyond it or something?
Yeah, there's a number of big things, but it's kind of, as I went on, I just thought it was something else. As kind of the time goes on, we develop the defenses, and then we can think it's this, but it can actually, this is just a symptom of something else. So on my main side, I've got about not having emotional control or not feeling confident. But then those things were just symptoms of something much deeper.
Right.
But at the time when I was about...
And go deeper. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so when I was about 16, that was 16 to 18, that's what I came to say, oh, this is a problem. And we just try and find, at that point, then we try and find a way to just push it down, to get rid of it, just to feel more stable. I wasn't thinking about doing anything else, but it was just at that point. And then from there, I just gradually went further down. Like going just, you're at the top of you're on land and you're gradually going down into this cave in the ground. Mm. And then from there, I came to say, it's actually developmental trauma and those kinds of hardcore, heavy experiences I had, not just a one-off, it was over a long period of time. And it was those things there that had the biggest effect that then led to all the other things of the confidence and all the other issues that paled in significance to the earlier stuff. But at that point, and for a number of years later on, I wasn't ready to go in there because I thought, well, if I go in there, I'm going to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So just keep things on the surface. And I had to wait until a number of years later until I was ready to go there. And that couldn't be forced up.
Yeah. When it's time, it's time.
Or can be forced.
Good you took care of yourself as you went through this as well, rather than forcing yourself and overdoing it. A lot of people kind of want to sometimes jump in and fix it, but they don't really necessarily touch the sides, or they're not ready, or they haven't got the support system, or they do it to prove that they shouldn't have done it so they can go out and be in control and live the old life again.
Yeah, well, I've tried a bit of that and it doesn't last, of course. Right.
Yeah. So you used the word overwhelm, and I would say that is the other thing that's going on with me. So the two main things that are going on is absolute excitement that my best friend's back, and tomorrow we're going to Ashdown Forest, and he's crazy busy. He's here for very few days, and it's got meeting after meeting after meeting, but irrespective, we have always taken time off work to be in the forest. And the other main thing that's going on is overwhelm. And it seems to be something that you're very good at managing, and something that maybe I'm not so good at managing. Because at the moment, especially with November this month, International Men's Day coming up on the 19th, and then I've got a new PR company, and they're busy managing what I've already set up, leave alone setting new things up. But it looks like they are setting new things up, plus my wife helping me out. And I've got some incredible interviews lined up. Joe Swinson MP the ex-minister for women, interviewed me for her book on equality. And now I'm interviewing her on Wednesday about how the book's done, and a good message for International Men's Day. I mean, who better? So people and things like that. Jan Day about relationships, because now men and women want conscious relationships. It's gone crazy with apps and judgment and box ticking and swipe to the left and swipe to the right. And now with Men Flirt, it's about authenticity. With Jan Day's work and Tantra and boundaries and self-awareness, it's about authenticity. I even, Channel 4 filmed a men's group about men and porn that I put on, talking about our relationships to pornography, from when we were kids to older, to what it's about, to the good, bad and ugly of it. So it's like really getting into the realities of what crap and how damaging it can be, because it's got nothing to do with people. And it's certainly not the place to go for sex education, and certainly not the place to go for anything to do with relationships. But these things need to be named and people need to be informed. Because otherwise, if you've got no friends, if you don't talk about this, and if everyone's lying and the crap you see online, you can blame people not knowing what to do or how to do it right. And especially with the high percentage of boarding school boys I have as private clients, how are they supposed to know? And then live good lives and bring up good families and organizations and countries. So the overwhelm is horrible. And I really am at my edge, but choosing to be at my edge this month and maybe some of next month, because the iron's hot and it's time for me to strike. So rather than playing small and living a calm life and being in control and killing it, I'm thinking, right, it's time. Let it go ballistic. And if it's going to be nasty because there's so much to do, then it's nasty. And there is so much that I need to not just do well, but hold a clean space for it to happen authentically, rather than fix. It's not about popularity or people liking. It's about time for change. And in this chaos, I realized how my business is shifting, because I've been running men's groups for 16 years, seeing private clients probably for about 25, and mixed groups from when I lived in Australia for 25 years. But only for about a year have I been training people to run their own groups, men and women, how to communicate with and work with men, to bring out the truth and the best and make space for a man and listen to a man. And I've had people from coaches, therapists, authors, healthcare workers, God knows everyone coming. And I'm thinking, this is the bit that I'm going to run with, because this is the bit that's going to make a difference in the mainstream. Because, yeah, it's a woman I know actually ran a conference that was called The Problem with Men. Thankfully, I wasn't asked to be a speaker. But, you know, why don't men speak? Who's listening? So... Yeah,
I mean, well, with that, I mean, it's a big problem, isn't it? It's kind of what you're talking about in the beginning, about looking towards, you know, porn and things like that, comes down to a lack of guidance. And as you said, if there's no guidance, and this is where they go from a young age, perhaps there's no father there, or the mother's busy, or the father's busy, or they're just unavailable. They could be there, but they're just not. Perhaps they're just using their phones now. You know, many years ago, the phones weren't there, but they're busy with the TV, or it's always something. So, and if there's no guidance, and then as you've said about this, yes, there's a real lack of guidance in both ways, you know, for men and women. But as you pointed out, the solution is not to kind of tar all men with the same brush. I mean, what's that going to do? I mean, if they've already got a lot of shame already, and then they say, right, you're the problem.
Yeah.
There's just kind of like this sadistic approach, this kind of idea of if you keep pushing someone down, then they're just going to change, where it's going to have the opposite effect. And then all this whole thing about, you know, toxic masculinity and all that, and it's just, there are obviously parts of masculinity that are not healthy. But the way the kind of media runs with this, it ends up coming out in the wrong place. You know, the words are used to kind of shame, and as you've said, it doesn't help. It doesn't lead to a opening up of men and women being able to talk and discuss and to own our own issues, to see what are we projecting onto the opposite gender.
And with that, I can...
our own stuff.
Yeah. And I can own that I can be the toxic masculine, and I can also be the toxic feminine. And I like that I play big enough to get it wrong. Rather than so small and safe that I'm not actually living, I'm barely ticking over.
Well, this is it, isn't it? This is it, letting go of the perfectionism and trying to be someone else, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then coming back to what you said about being overwhelmed, I mean, you're going down to the woods, I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Spending time in nature, connecting, getting some of that support and nurturing, and maybe do a bit of tree hugging, you know, things like that. That's just going to settle you down, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And help me to be real. Because when I'm in my head and I'm in my frenzy, sometimes I can believe this nonsense. I can believe that email land is the land in which I exist. There's more to life than what's lurking in my inbox. But it can be so...
uploaded your consciousness to your email.
Right. Let's end on words of wisdom, something useful. What do you think might be useful? What could we sum up? Or what gift?
I suppose it depends on the context. I mean, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that one of my tricks, I'm only remembering this because I've been saying it a lot recently, is when I find myself lost in my head, finding trouble to shoot, so I feel that I'm safe because I'm fixing something and I'm off with the unfinished business from the past or the fears and fantasies for the future. When I find myself lost in space, I stop. As soon as I'm conscious of it, I take a deep breath in, and as I breathe in, I think, thank you for reminding me who I used to be. So I breathe in and I'm out of my head and I'm in my body. Who I used to be, it's acknowledging that I'm being grateful and it's past. And in the present, when I breathe out, I take part with what's in front of me. And that's how, when I remember, I adjust. It's not, oh, I got it wrong. It's, there's my adjuster. And what I said to the guy that I was working with online last night, because with him it was tics and things like that, and a lot of going into the head, a lot of fear, a lot of that. I said, yeah, we need to up the game. So it's when you remember. But it's also, I said to him, every time you cough, sneeze, gurgle, burp, even fart, anytime your body does anything, it's an indication that it's time to take a breath. And then to take that one step further is any time you walk through a doorway or cross a threshold, take a breath. It's almost like, where can we put reminders? And then I said to him, and then maybe if you need to up it more, every time you see a doorway, but he's just getting into, these are reminders to tell me that I'm safe and I can get out of my head and take part in life. And if it needs to be a game first and foremost, then let it be a game. So that's my little tip, I think. Anything cross your mind off the top of your head?
Sure. I mean, I would follow that up with, so no matter where someone is at, what is going on for their life, realize that someone out there is also going through the same experience, a number of people,
Yeah.
Millions probably. And there's people out there who have also moved beyond what you are experiencing.
Yeah.
And to reach out for support, a friend, or perhaps like a men's group that Kenny offers, but just to reach out and not to suffer in silence.
That is absolutely golden. Connect on the outside rather than think you're alone and isolate. Nice one. I think, you know what? I was going to say, I think we've hit gold. Shall we hit gold in more ways than one and end with another 2 minutes?
Good idea.
Or is that a little bit too hippie for your audience?
Who cares? Who cares? Some will like it, some people won't.
Good. So here's a bit of striking gold. I remembered one thing. We have, apparently there's one cardinal rule, and that is, if ever you do anything like this, remember to give your web address. So how do people contact you?
The best thing would be to go to www.oliverjrcooper.co.uk, and everything is on there. My books and all the articles can be found through a link on that site as well.
Great. So oliverjrcooper.co.uk.
Yeah.
I have for the men's groups, mensgroups.co.uk, and for everything else, themanwhisperer.co.uk, and we're on. Well, actually, we're off. That was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kenny, for your time today.
It's good to hang out.
Some wisdom as well.
Same, totally. Right. So here's to the NHS coming knocking on my door saying train our people, because yeah, I want to pass it on since turning 50. You're so much younger than me. You've got no wrinkles. Your face hasn't started dropping. It's not fair.
You were here once.
True. Cool. I'll see you very soon.
Yeah, brilliant.